welcome to East Coast, West Coast with my amazing co-host, Mike Flynn. I am Danny Rocco. Mike, how are you today?
Whenever I'm on with you, I'm amazing. Thank you.
We have such a good time. Sometimes everybody, we just
Yeah.
get in Zooms and just chat. Just because I miss his face, I gotta
Right.
see him in person.
Okay.
With us today is the beautiful Neelam. She was born and raised in India. She has competed her first time ever and won Mrs. Washington and is now the semifinalist in the competition for Mrs. India, which this is unique because if she should win, she would be the first person who won the crown without being a resident of India. And I have so many questions about that. But first, how are you today?
I am doing great, Danny, and thank you. I'm excited to be here with you and Mike here.
We are excited for you too. But before I start digging in questions, Mike has a question for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was curious. I'm going to ask you one, Danny,
Oh,
because our audience might find it interesting to learn that you also won the Mrs. title in your state, which is New Hampshire. When was that? And just take a minute to share how that came about for you.
I
yeah.
was going to say that, Danny. Sorry to interrupt, but you look part of my tribe. So I
Yeah.
was going to say, Danny, you look part of my family. Do you ever competed in pageants?
That was my first one, just like you. It was 2018, and they asked me if I would run. They're like, your voice, almost the same story, but different. Like your voice, your passion, you would bring such good, be such a good resource for women. And it scared the pants out of me. And I was like, nope, I can't do that. That scares me. I'm gonna have to be in a bathing suit. Holy moly! Like that was actually my biggest fear. But then because of that, I said, you know what? I have to say yes and go through with this and do it. So that's my like short story of how it all happened.
Yeah, great.
Cool. So you two are sisters. Okay.
We are.
You are
All right. Back
family.
to you, Danny.
All right. All right. So, but really, this is about you, Neelam. So, how did you decide to participate in Mrs. New Hampshire event? I mean, you heard mine. It
Yeah.
scared me. I was asked, so I had to say yes. What
So
is your story?
as Danny, you were scared going into this pageant. I was scared too because I have never done pageant in my life. I had an academic career, and just getting into the thought of walking on that stage in 5 inches heel, scared me. And in a bathing suit, I'll be limping around on the stage. But more than that, I think this pageant, Mrs. Washington America, has charity at its heart. The pageant is all about raising awareness about drug abuse and addiction in our community. There
Mm,
are at least 180 lives lost each day in our country because of drug abuse and addiction. And if you make a correlation, it's like a jet plane crashing each day. If there was a jet plane crashing each day, wouldn't we do something about it? So why not about drug abuse and addiction? The mission of the foundation, Victoria Siegel Foundation, which is the national charity for Mrs. America and Mrs. Washington, touched my heart. And I decided that I want to work on this important aspect. And so that was my starting of participating in the pageant, getting deeper connected with my community, and getting to know more people, connections, public speaking, and also learning to walk in 5 inches of heels.
it's amazing how elegant you can make, 5 to 6 inch heels look, right? You just like
Yes,
learn how to float.
I know.
Hmm.
Used to that.
Okay, I have a question just about you and your family. You have a boy and a girl.
Yes,
The story of how your son almost wasn't here
yes,
is heartrending and says a lot about you. Can you please share that?
yeah. I think each of us has different aspects, our own struggles, our own challenges, and how we face them and how we overcome them. I am raising a beautiful family of 2 kids, but during my last pregnancy, it was a difficult pregnancy, not only because of the complications in my unborn child, but also I was facing physical complications because of which I was completely bedridden in the last trimester of my pregnancy. It was a difficult pregnancy, but I think as any one of us goes through struggles and challenges, we come out stronger. We come out as a better version of ourselves. And during that time of my struggle, instead of giving in to disappear, I decided to be a better version of myself and not just to help myself, but to help other moms who might have difficult pregnancies, who might have complications in their unborn child, and to deal with that emotional aspect. So I counsel pregnant women who have difficult pregnancies. I also help mothers to get back to their normal routine where they can regain their physical strength and confidence. So
Mm.
that's
Could you? I'm going to interrupt because this is just live and this is how it works. You're coming off garbled for the audience and they want to hear what you're saying. Maybe if you move closer.
how about that?
Oh, yes.
Better?
I
Oh,
think
that's
that's
excellent.
better.
Yeah, that's super.
Oh, great.
I
I'm
think
sorry about that.
this is what going live is. There's no retext. There's no editing. You just got to
Okay.
go with the flow. It shows the confidence and the modality of life. So talk about that again. I want to go a little deeper before I ask my next
Yeah.
question is what is that like to be faced with one, you're bedridden, so your body is physically going through a challenge, and then you have to deal with your son.
Right. Right.
And maybe you don't know what's going to happen to your son. You don't know if he's gonna live. You know what that outcome's going to be like. What was your thoughts?
Well, except be sure to let people know that everybody around you, including your doctor, said it would be no, he shouldn't live for the sake of you and him.
Yeah.
And you
So,
said, ain't going to happen.
yeah.
Okay.
So, as I was mentioning before, you could hear me clearly. I think each one of us goes through struggles in our life. Our struggles could be different in different ways. We could be challenged by life events. Uh, and pregnancy is something that is like a happy go thing for everyone. It was a happy go thing for me for my first pregnancy, but during my second pregnancy, there were complications in me in terms of my physical things that I could do as my pregnancy progressed, and also in my unborn child. And those challenges and those struggles during that time, I definitely felt very low. But instead of giving in to despair, I decided that I'm going to be a best version of myself when I come out of this pregnancy. Not only am I going to help myself, but I'm going to help other moms who go through these difficult pregnancies. So my message to anyone who's listening to me is that no matter what we are, a father, a mother, a brother, or in any profession, we will in our lives go through challenges and struggles. The important thing when you go through that phase is not feeling low, having the confidence in yourself that you are going to get through this challenge and you'll be a better version of yourself when you come out of this.
Mm, it because you didn't just talk about it, you just have this mindset that you are going to be a better version, you're going to do the best that you can. You actually put some action behind it. You created an organization for women with difficult pregnancies and a nonprofit. That's really why I love you and Mike loves you, because you put your money where your mouth is. You did something more than that, than just talking about it. Tell me about those organizations or nonprofits.
Yeah. So since after my second pregnancy, I realized that it's important for us, each one of us, and as mothers too, to take care of ourselves, but also to take care of our family and our community, our nation. Our nation is a big family. So after my son was A-OK, I was A-OK, I decided I'm going to help other moms. And I created a program, Strength Motherhood, where women throughout the world connected with me. I could provide them from my experiences, the lessons they could learn. And I also visited different institutions where I counseled pregnant women on how to deal with a difficult pregnancy. And going forward, I also worked at Pro Club, where I help mothers get back to physical fitness and inspire them that, look at me, I was bedridden the second part of my pregnancy, but I'm here working out, I'm doing my cardios and my yoga. And once you are a fit mom, you can have a fit family. And that's just one aspect of my community work. Besides that, I have been deeply connected with my community here in Redmond. I'm part of Redmond Kivanas. During this difficult time, this and I'm helping the community, the nonprofit organizations, to raise funds so that they can keep their doors open. For example, Boys and Girls Club of Bellevue, it provides childcare to children of essential workers. And during this unprecedented and difficult time of COVID-19, they were facing financial constraints. And I helped them fundraise. I actually helped them raise over $30,000 so that they can keep their doors open for workers of children of workers like the grocery store workers or healthcare workers. So I feel passionate about that. And besides that, the drug abuse, the cause is very close to my heart. And last year, going into Mrs. America, I was the highest fundraiser to raise money for this important cause. As well as going ahead, I'm going to work with our local school district superintendent on creating drug-free clubs in schools so that kids who are part of this club, they can portray themselves as an ideal for other students, and uh, they can show that if you stay away from drugs, you can be a good student and you can get other perks as well.
Yeah. Michael, come back.
Work.
Yeah. Michael, come back. But before he does, I want to talk about, do you find, because you had a career early, before your second pregnancy, and you took on this kind of this new mission and this new place. Tell me, do you find, what is the difference? You were a full-time working mom.
Yeah.
And hold on, I'm going to let Mike back in here.
Yeah, I was like,
so you're a full-time working mom, and now you're doing this. Like,
I see Mike.
What is the difference for you? Is one more like you feel like you have more purpose in one than the other?
I think one thing that I've realized over the past few years is the road to happiness is finding your purpose in life and following that path.
Yeah.
So I think, all these years, especially past 4 or 5 years, I have come to know the purpose of my life, just to be more connected with my community. I have been born into circumstances where I could get a good education, where I can reach my full potential. But there are 264 million children throughout this world who do not have access to good education. So I've made it my mission to help these kids to raise awareness about the issue of having education for all kids. I think, given as friends we have in a practical too, in this position, we are able to draw people to the causes that they might not know, or raise awareness about issues that they might not know, and the issues that need immediate concern, just like education. So it's been a different world, but realizing my purpose is more than just, being a working professional or just being a full-time mom. It's my community. I have to work and make deeper connections with my community.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you guys lose me for a second, or just me?
We did. But you're back just in time to ask about her Miss
Okay,
India
all right. I just
competition.
wondered, when the phone rang, it cut me out. I'm curious, Neelam, how did you decide to enter the Mrs. India competition? That seems like it would take a lot of courage. And there must be things you're expected to do that you didn't even anticipate until you found out what the agenda for action is.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for that question. As Danny mentioned at the very beginning, this year has been unprecedented, very difficult, and very strange. So, Mrs. India, the auditions usually happen in person in India. But this year, because of COVID-19, the auditions have been virtual, which kind of worked in my favor because I'm here in the United States. So I can give my auditions virtually. And Mrs. India, the mission for me to going into Mrs. India is to raise awareness about education in India. I grew up in India, as Danny mentioned, and I've had a privileged life. I was given the circumstances where I can go to a good school. My parents really worked hard and made sure I went to a good school. My dad worked in the army, and I traveled throughout the country and abroad, which opened my mind to different perspectives, to different cultures, on different ideas. And I feel like when I am saying something, I'm addressing a global audience. So when I speak about education, I think I'm not just focusing on India, I'm speaking to a global audience in terms of how important education is. Because once a child gets an education, he can not only pull himself out of poverty, he can pull his family out of poverty as well. If I can portray a scenery, during my last visit to India, I went to a small town and there was this garbage dump. And in the middle of the day, in scorching heat, I could see kids barely dressed up, barefooted, scavenging through that trash to make their families ends meet. Those kids should be school. Those kids should realize their potential. So my aim going into Mrs. India is to raise awareness about this important cause, to create a love of learning for these kids, because maybe one day they'll have an academic career and they can pull their family out of this poverty. So I believe education is a shared responsibility throughout the world. And I hope I can raise awareness and I can help students and kids to stay in school, complete their education, and be a role model for girls throughout the world that they can dream big and they can achieve those dreams just like me.
Oh yeah, well, you are living proof that it can happen. So you're a great role model for that. But I would be so in when you go through a competition, you kind of know who you're competing against,
Yeah.
because in the Mrs. Washington and Mrs. America. But what about like when you go over there? Do you know what that's going to be like? Do you know who you're going to be competing against?
So we this week actually, Mrs. India started their online training sessions, and they have different aspects which they train women on. So I really like that Mrs. India does not only train you on for stage, they train you for life. So there is a holistic instructor and a coach. There is a fitness coach. There is a communication coach. There is a grooming coach. And so I believe that, especially for women and mothers, it's important to develop and maintain all those aspects because as mothers, sometimes we forget our own lives. We are so much
Yeah.
in our houses, are taking care of our kids. It's important to realize that as mothers, we need to take care of ourselves first, holistically and physically, and so that we can be better mothers, we can be a better duty leader as well. So I like that aspect, and I've been, as you mentioned, I've seen those. I got an opportunity to see them virtually on the screen. So there are 60 other contestants. I'm very excited because each one of them have accomplished something or the other in their life. They have faced challenges and they are here. And I'm excited for this learning experience through Mrs. India. I'm not sure if I'm going to win, but I will be a better person when I come out of this experience. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
that is sure.
How much? The interesting thing is, much of your time as Mrs. Washington was during the coronavirus stuff still going on.
Yeah.
How did that affect your ability to perform the things you wanted to do? And does it leave things undone that you might do even when you're not Mrs. Washington?
Yeah, Mike, I totally agree with you. This year has been really tough on everybody, small businesses, our community, families, students, kids, remote learning. And there were so many aspects as Mrs. Washington that I was working on that are still that's still and one of the aspects that my initiative was having drug-free club in Redmond School District. And this is something that still has to be done, but it needs the presence of students in school. So I was working with Redmond School District Supplementing on how to create those clubs for middle and high school students. But given the situation with COVID, I think I cannot proceed with that right now. But that is in my files that is my priority to be done once the schools are open for kids. So
Mm.
there are things that are on stop because of COVID-19, as all of our lives are struggling.
I have a question before we close out. Maybe it's a twofold question, but let's say you do become Mrs. India. You know, you only, what was it, 11 weeks or 11 days or something ridiculous like that, where you decided to do Mrs. Washington and you won. So anything is possible when you're involved in that. What is that going to look like for you?
So, Danny, you're very right. It was a very short period of time, and I decided that I want to do Mrs. Washington. And it's a very short period of time, and I decided that I want to do Mrs. India. If I do win Mrs. India, I would like to take my platform of education for all children ahead on a global level. Because once I win a national title, I get wider audience, and people tend to listen more to the title rather than me. So they'll know that Mrs. India is talking about education and the importance of education for all children.
Mm,
And they'll hear more about me. And I hope through this title and raising awareness, I can change at least one life. Even if I can make a difference in one life, my purpose is solved. And that's what I hope to achieve through the title of Mrs. India. And thank you for
mm.
that wonderful question, Dan.
So I'm going to ask you each a question. Same question. Were there any things that surprised you about your time as Mrs. Washington and Mrs. Hampshire?
Surprising. No.
Or
I would,
memorable? Let's say memorable.
the experience of, I think actually for me, it was I'd never done pageants before and I had this preconception of what they were.
Yeah.
And I was totally wrong. I was like, I just thought it was a beauty contest. And what is the purpose of that? And you don't need honestly, that's what I thought. And then I realized, no, they're actually bringing awareness and bringing women up and trying to, you can decide what your special gift is. And then just like Neelam said, people listen to the title, not necessarily the person. So you can use your I don't want to say power, but you can use that to reach more people.
So for me, Mike, I agree what Danny said, and I totally echo her thoughts. For me, going and winning that title of Mrs. Washington, I also thought it's a beauty pageant. But the title just empowers you in so many ways because you get more connected to your community. And when you speak about a cause, people are ready to listen. And it gives me so much joy and happiness knowing that I have made a difference in life of people that I've never met. I never knew that a title, especially a pageant title, can make a deeper connection in my community, can help raise awareness about issues, can help actually solve a problem. So looking at our words, I think they have a lot of power, and to use them wisely is important. And that's what I've learned. And it has surprised me as Mrs. Washington that
Mhm.
with this title, hold so much power that I can bring a positive change, not only in my community, but throughout the world. I am a global citizen now. And so just realizing that power and influence of this title is what
Mm.
amazed me, surprised me.
It's also amazing, Mike, that you can walk elegantly. Like I can walk in any heel now. Like I was pretty good before, but man, I got some poses out of that whole experience. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how to twist and turn, which is kind of fun. On a side note to it. Oh, but Neela, before we let you go, is there anything else that you would like to, just make very clear in your mission or share or inspire to those that are out there listening?
So thank you, Danny and Mike, today for giving me this opportunity to be here, and so that I can raise awareness about an important issue, and also so that my work
Mhm.
can reach a deeper and more wider audience. There are so many issues in this world that really need to be worked on, and
Mhm.
I think because of this COVID-19, there were some negative things that happened, but on the positive side, you can see that it has given us time to reflect on our lives and what is important in our lives, our families, our community is so
Mhm.
much more important. Realizing the importance of our family members and community, being present for them, being present for each other is so much important. And going into Mrs. India, I want to learn and be a better version of myself, as well as raise awareness about education for all children. There are 264 million children that do not have access to education. Look at the potential we have to send these kids to school and to make this world a better place. That's my
Mm.
message, and that's my platform. Thank you.
That is
Oh,
being an ideal role model. That's cool.
it is. And I love that. Being present, isn't that the truth? Being present is so clear. So, Neelam, thank you for coming. Mike, thank you for being the most amazing co host I could ever have out there. Just love you to pieces. Thank you. And to everybody else, till the next time, when the East and the West Coast collide, we will see you next
Looking
time.
forward to seeing you again. And very good
Bye.
job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.